Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another Road to the Apocalypse, where we're going to go to the Dead Linger website, take a look at their roadmap. I haven't done too many lately. I'm trying to find my mouse. There we go. I haven't done a few lately because I've been having a lot of time at work. Yeah, you fit things in when you can. So we've actually started vehicles and transportation. We did talk about cars, trucks, buses last time. Today, let's talk a little bit about boats and a little bit about aircraft. So, boats. So, much like land based vehicles, boats will offer similar benefits and will be operated in a similar manner. Boats will range from small rowboats to medium sized motorboats to larger yachts or houseboats. Many survivors see the advantage to a floating fortress, and so do we. If we meet certain financial goals, we will also be adding much larger craft for survival on a much larger and much more luxurious scale. So that first one, well, the first comment when it says here meet certain financial goals, well, that's true of anything. That's the kind of stuff where, when it was back in the Kickstarter, you could put that as like a Kickstarter goal, but they're well outside of Kickstarter now. So when they say meet certain financial goals, that's true of any game. So I really don't think that particular phrase is needed there anymore. The goal now is just to get the game out and get Build 13. That's my thing. So many people are talking about Build 13, and I'm almost starting to get kind of the feeling. I mean, not that I get to talk to hundreds of thousands of folks, but just our small knit community, we're just getting very very anxious just for the next build, and so financial goals. That's don't even need that phrase in there anymore. Let's just hit the builds and then we can start looking at other stuff. Anyhow, so boats, that was actually something I've talked about a couple times, sharing comments, how cool boats would be. And I would even be cool just to see a landlocked boat. And this is kind of how I felt about the cars too, was probably at some point before you have working boats, I would not be surprised if they just threw in a boat model somewhere into the world and just had it there so you could see the model, the proof of concept stuff. So I wouldn't be too unhappy if, you actually went down town or something, because there's boat stores. I mean, our town's not the hugest, but it has a boat store, if you will. You go down to it and look in the parking lot, and they got a bunch of boats you can look at. You get closer to Nashville, and there's the Pro Bass shop, and they've got all kinds of boats in and outside. So, I mean, that would be cool at some point if you just found some boats to look at and see how that would imagine yourself being in. But definitely the boats, though, have always been a fascinating idea for zombie survival. Like, even just having conversations with my wife about it, like, well, what would we do? Houseboat has come up multiple times. I mean, the only drawback to houseboat, excuse me, is, what if the zombies, get up onto it, and you think, well, how could you do that? You're out in the water. Well, I've seen plenty of lore where the zombies just walk out into the water and they're walking along the bottom. They don't have to breathe or nothing. So they might find a way up onto your boat if you've got the anchor keeping your boat down. So, a nice flat bottom boat where maybe you just let it drift. You don't have to worry about anchoring it down, so there's nothing for the zombies to climb up on. It just kind of all depends. It's one of those speculative things where you never know exactly when the apocalypse comes what kind of zombies you're getting. Acrobatic climbing zombies, or just stupid walkers who can't climb. So the houseboat concept is, though, super 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 cool, and I would love to see it here. I mean, of course, right now the biggest problem with boats is we don't have any water, so it doesn't do much good to talk about boats until you have a place to put the boat realistically, or can have it go and do something. And it's all going to depend on how the water gets generated. Since the world is procedurally generated, in my mind, I'm just imagining, okay, great, you're going to find a little teeny tiny bit of water with a boat floating in it, and the water is about the size of the boat. So it will be cool to see how that gets put into the world. Because if they're talking about, huge yachts at some point, we're going to need a lot of water. And I can see that that's going to be a huge obstacle for these procedurally generated worlds, because depending on where you get dropped into the world when it's created, if you get landlocked, surrounded by huge expanses of water, and you can't find a boat, you might be hurting. What's the ratio of boats to water going to be? Because that's another thing they have to keep in mind too. Is the more stuff that they add into the game, the more stuff that your processor has to track, the more everything. It's just going to start to feel super cluttered at some point. Because right now, there's not a whole lot of space between the different towns. It just doesn't feel super expansive, which is good. I mean, nobody wants to play, you know, we already have a walking and running simulator style of games, and sometimes you got to travel these large expanses to get someplace in some games. Dead Linger, yeah, there's a time where I have to run a little bit to get from a town to a town. But now, as we start adding cities and then we start adding lakes, they're going to spend a lot of time tweaking that world generator so that you can fit in all these different things without making it feel so crowded. How is it going to determine how many boats you have? How many of what type? Are they just going to be like docked at, docks and marinas? There's a lot there. I mean, the boats are at 10%. So when it hits that 10% mark, that's where I'm, in my mind, they have it, the idea is written out on paper. Here's what we want, here's some thoughts that we have, but it's tucked away far, far at the back of their mind. So I think it's a cool idea. I can't wait to see the boats. I think that'll be awesome. It's just right now they have so much left to do. Like, they don't even have water yet. So I have a feeling boats will be one of the last things that gets implemented in. That's kind of my feeling. I'm not going to say that's true. It's hard to say. Maybe they've already got a boat model just waiting to sit in the game. I can only speculate to that much. But I think I would enjoy boats more than cars, for the simple fact that a lot of games, they already have cars and things like that for driving around in the apocalypse. Boats would really make this game stand out, I think. Yeah, Grand Theft Auto and those style games already have, but I haven't seen an undead Grand Theft Auto. Maybe somebody should work on that mod. But that had boats and stuff, so I know it can be done. It's just that that's not a lot. A lot of games just don't have that. I don't see that in the DayZ mods. I don't see boats. Or if there is a particular DayZ mod that has boats, I just haven't found it. So this will really set the game apart as unique. It's a very cool concept. I hope it does come sooner than later. Well, but then I say that about everything. I hope it comes sooner than later. But I think, well, it's just me. I've seen cars, been there, done that. I would prefer to see the boats before I see the cars. Cars would probably make more sense in the scope of the game as it currently stands, because there's not even water in the game. But I would like to see that get fleshed out next. I would love to see water. I'd like to see the lakes, the rivers, and I would like to see some boats, because I think that would be cool to have your own little floating home that's safe from the land. You can take it to, I just think that'd be cool. But that's my thought on boats. Now, aircraft, might as well cover aircraft real quick. Ah, boy, information withheld by order of the Department of Virus Research and Control. That's pretty lofty. I honestly don't know how robust the Unity engine is. I mean, I know you can put flight, and I've seen all kinds of stuff that you can do in Unity, so it can be done. I just don't know how much the current Sandswept Studio is up for adding in. That's pretty ambitious, I think. And I honestly don't know how hard it is to put in aircraft versus the cars and trucks and boats. And then, what kind of vehicles? My goodness, even when it comes to cars and boats, it's huge categories you could have. Is it going to be like a Cessna plane? And at some point, you have to think, well, what exactly would the benefit be to having these aircraft in the dead Linger? And then just now hit in my mind, even with the cars and the boats, and if you add an aircraft, what kind of maintenance are they going to need? We know they're going to have to take gas. Where are you going to get all the gas to run, the helicopters and your planes? And, you know, I think that would still be a cool idea. I'm just, at some point you have to wonder, okay, how much is too much? How often will helicopters be? Now, what would make sense and would be kind of cool is if they ever put in a hospital, at the very top of the hospital, there would be a chance it'd be like a life flight helicopter. And then once they have water, I mean, in my mind, it would be very cool then to have possibly the idea of these isolated islands. And so either by boat or if you had your helicopter that would take you out to the island, that'd be kind of cool. You could travel very far distances and fly above the zombie herds. So the potential there for something kind of cool, it's there, but it's just so early in the game that it's hard to talk about because I don't see anything in the game right now that hints at airplanes or boats. Like the only thing they have in the game that's coming out, I believe in build 13, that even hints to the vehicles is the bicycles. And as unimpressive as that sounds, but that's the foundation of their whole vehicle system right there, is going to be that bicycle. And if they can get that bicycle working good in one build and not have to mini patch it up all the time, then they can really start to look at these other vehicles. And hopefully water comes soon. To be quite honest though, I think cars and trucks and possibly aircraft would be put in the game prior to boats, simply because for them to add water, I don't know how much of a chore that's going to be to put it in with their procedurally generated world system. So sad cry, I think boats will definitely be one of the last sets of vehicles to come in. I think aircraft will probably get in before boats. And for me, what would make more sense would be a helicopter. Airplanes and stuff like that would be cool, but at some point they have to start thinking about and limiting, oh my gosh, are we going to put in attack aircraft, military aircraft, Hueys, Blackhawks, there's just so much. What are they going to pick? I think for me, again, just to say it, I think would be the funnest is just simply put a life flight helicopter up on top of the hospital, and then you could use that to get out to your isolated islands. I think that would be fun. But that's pretty good for today. It's they don't have a system in place to even kind of compare it to. So hopefully, maybe share some of your thoughts. What would you like to see? That's kind of really where we're at in parts of the roadmap, is just what would you like to see happen with the boats and the cars and stuff like that. So leave some feedback. I've actually gotten some really, really good comments. I enjoy hearing what people have to say, where they would like to see the game go versus where it's currently at. I know a lot of us are just chomping at the bit for build 13. It's like, who cares about cars? Let's just see the next build. But the good news is, like we talked about, I think it was yesterday when I got to put up the tweeter review thing, that they had the patch in final testing, and they said it would just be a few more days. And so fingers crossed, if they hit their kind of release pattern, hopefully Tuesday, Wednesday, we should see this huge build. So once that new build hits, I think that will renew a lot of interest and get people thinking forward again instead of just to build 13. So I like to discuss these things, look it down the road. Sometimes that road seems super long and dark, and it's true. It's hard to stay motivated when the game almost feels like vaporware at times, because sure, they're putting little Twitter posts out, but we're not seeing anything. But again, that's just the way of the alpha. I could be playing DayZ standalone, which I'm not bashing. It's just that doesn't have the same roadmap that I have for the Dead Linger. So hopefully we get a build and we can start moving forward again with future speculations beyond this post. So hey, keep the hope up, survivors, and we'll talk to you tomorrow. Well, whenever I get a chance to come on and talk roadmap again. So take care, everybody. See you later.